Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and you're watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a bunch of maintenance on my tank and sort of take you along for the journey. So like many reefers, I do let maintenance activities sometimes build up, and what I do is I write them all on a little post-it note or a list for myself, and then I try to do them all in one go. This does have some advantages, especially if any of those maintenance activities include sticking your hands in the display tank. And for that reason, building up a few different activities to do all in one go when you're sticking your hands in the tank is actually beneficial for the tank, because if there's one consistent piece of advice we hear in the hobby, it's that you should try to keep your hands out of the tank. So the less time and the less number of occasions that you're sticking your hands in the tank, the better. So consolidate them all together and do them in one go. I also have a few other things on this list which involve some work down in the sump and a few other things. But yeah, I'll take you along for the journey. Essentially what we're going to be doing today is I need to trim my red Monty. It's encroaching on the space of one of its neighbors. I need to make some red Digi frags. I've had a few requests for those, as well as another frag of my blue Digi. I need to take out a dead hammer that is down the side, down the bottom of my tank. I think it's been in pretty strong flow and shade for quite a long time, and it's finally decided that it had enough, so I'll need to take that out and reconsider what coral I put in that spot. I need to clean some algae off a couple of these frag plugs. I find in my tank that brand new frag plugs first grow algae before they grow coralline on them, and so sometimes I just need to give it a little bit of a helping hand by scrubbing the algae off the frag plugs. So there's a couple of those that I need to clean up. And finally, the last thing I need to do in the display is that there's a couple of little aptasia that I want to zap, so I'm going to show you how I go about doing that. There's also some sump maintenance activities I need to do. First and foremost is I still need to install this ceramic biomedia that I talked about a couple of videos ago, so I'll be taking out some marine pure and adding these into the sump. I need to clean my filter sock and my skimmer. I need to do a nitrate test. I probably won't do that on camera because you've seen me do that before, but the reason why I'm specifically testing nitrate more frequently at the moment is I recently put some Purigen in my Hamali resin reactor in combination with the Phosphate RX, and I'm keen to see the results. So yeah, that's everything on my list. We'll see if we get through it all in one go. One thing to note, you're going to see me wearing these disposable gloves when I have my hands in the tank. And that's to not only protect my hands from, toxins and coral slime and things like that, but also to protect the tank from anything that might be on my hands that we don't want to be exposed to the salt water. Alright, so let's get to it. Now the first thing you're going to see me do is zap some of those little aptasia that have popped up. I think they've all come off one little plug, so it shouldn't take me long to get them. And the way I kill aptasia is I use some kalkwasser and a very small amount of water to sort of get it to a paste-like consistency, and then I'll use a small syringe to just smother the paste over the aptasia. It's really simple, really effective, and is quite safe for the tank as well. So all I do here is get a mixing jar with a very small amount of RODI. You can see it's just a tiny amount of RO. And just add a generous amount of kalkwasser, that's maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. Give that a mix, and see that's now got a consistency of like, I'd say milk, so we probably need a little bit more kalkwasser. Add a little more. Mix that up. Yeah, we're getting there. It's still a little bit runny. You kind of want it to be like a liquidy paste. Yeah, I think that's about right. That's about the consistency that we're going for. Alright, so what I've done is I've put the kalkwasser paste or slurry into this syringe, and I'm going to go target one tiny little aptasia that's on this frag plug here. So hopefully this will come out well on camera. Yeah, and all you want to do is just mush the paste onto the aptasia. and there's no way that it will survive that. I also find that this kalkwasser paste is pretty safe for the corals as well. Like, you can come back in about 10 minutes and brush any corals that you got it on, but yeah, I've never really done any damage to any corals, particularly zoanthids, by using a kalkwasser paste like this. Alright, so that's a couple of Aptasia that I found around the tank. Newt. The key with Aptasia is to get them early and while they're really little. If you let them get big, they're liable to reproduce and spawn, particularly when they're under stress. That's why when people kill big Aptasia, often then a month later their tank has like 30 or 40 tiny little ones everywhere. It's not the end of the world, it just means you have to be thorough. If you've got a big Aptasia, try and actually remove the piece of rock altogether. But if you've got the little ones, the approach that I just showed you just then is really good for nuking them. You probably won't get them all. It might take a couple of attempts to get them all, but if you're methodical about it and you get them while they're little, you can eradicate it from your tank quite easily. Of course, it's very easy to reintroduce Aptasia because they can be hiding on new corals and new frags, but as long as you keep a close eye and you spot them early, you can keep them well under control, if not eradicated. Alright, so while I've still got the glove on, the next thing that I'm going to do in the tank is I need to remove that dead hammer, I need to frag my digitatas, and I need to clean the algae off a couple of the frag plugs on this rack. So as you can see, this hammer is probably beyond repair. I think the reason why it's not done well there is because it's predominantly in shadow and in very strong flow that comes from a single direction. But you know, we can rethink what coral we put there, but for now I need to remove that skeleton. It's quite awkward because all this rock work is very close to the glass, so getting down into it isn't the easiest, but if I can just get my pliers here into the right spot, I'll be able to leverage the whole piece off. I just need to find somewhere that I can stick it in and twist. There we go. You would have seen it just move. And got it. Yeah, so, I mean, I could leave this in the tank for a little bit longer, but given that the mouth is gone, there's almost no hope that this hammer would recover from this point. So I'm going to remove it now before it, say, breeds brown jelly or something like that that could potentially then infect other hammers in the tank. All right, the next thing I said I needed to do was make some frags of my red digi. As you can see, it's growing really, really well on this particular colony. In fact, this colony here is growing really well too. But I've got this blue coral behind it that is being sort of shadowed and surrounded, so I want to give him some more space, which means making a cut to this branch here. And digi is quite easy to frag, as you can see. That came off quite cleanly. I'm just going to put that in my frag rack for now. And the question is, do I frag this branch behind? Yeah, I will. I'm going to cut that here as well. And all I really need to do is clamp it and just give it a little squeeze and a little twist, and it should break. There we go, quite cleanly. And get the frag out. Oops. Well, we cut an extra branch off, it broke as well, but that's okay. Happy little extra frag. Oh, where did that fall? You can... I'll just pick that up from down there. So we got one extra frag from what we intended. Now I can either glue this frag back in there to refill up that spot, and that's what I might do, is put it in an angle just there. And I'll glue that back in on another angle like that a bit later, so that it grows in the other direction away from that blue colony and starts filling out this space a bit more. Alright, so the next thing I need to frag is my big red Monty cap here. As you can see along this edge here, it's encroaching onto this yellow frag, which obviously I want to give a bit more space to. So I'm just going to use these and just cut along this edge along here to sort of push this branch back. Now I'm not actually going to be taking off frag size pieces of this. I'm just more, because I don't want the entire branch to break. I'm just going to be chipping along this edge the best I can. And you just need to get a little bit of it going, and you should be able to get off medium-sized pieces. Like that. And as I chip off a piece, I'll just put it up in here, out of the way. And use that bit that I've then freed up to get the pliers in and cut out another little cube or triangle shaped piece. Anyone that's ever fragged Monty knows that it's quite easy to frag. It cuts quite easily. You just have to be careful that you don't cause a break to occur down the entire leaf if that's not what you're wanting to do. Just take your time, little cuts. Start from one end, then go to the other. Here we go. There, so I've cleared out an edge now around this yellow acro, just to give it a bit more space, a little bit more growth room, and I'll probably need to do this again in a month. And then a month after that, and just keep going until this yellow acro has sort of like built its own territory and can successfully hold back the red Monty. They're not aggressive towards each other. In fact, the yellow one's more aggressive than the red one. It's just that the red Monty grows so quickly that I just need to keep cutting it back to give this yellow one space, being the slower grower. Well, I think that's everything that requires my hands to be in the tank done. So what I did was I zapped a few Aptasia, we trimmed the red Monty, we fragged the blue and red Digi, got an extra frag, unintentional frag of the red Digi while we were doing it. We took out that dead hammer, and the last thing to do is clean a couple of these frag plugs. I'm not actually going to do that in the tank. I'm going to take the frag plugs out over to the sink, give them a scrub, and then put them back. So that's the next step. Let's do that now. We can see here this particular, it's meant to be candy apple red zoanthid, has been pretty much covered with a little bit of hair algae. So that's the one I'll use as an example. I'm going to take that guy out over to the sink, and I'm going to use a combination of tweezers and my fingers and my coral cutters to just scrape away all that algae and give that zoa a bit more space. There's quite a lot of algae on these zoas, so it's inhibiting their growth, and it's probably gotten a bit thick for my snails or cleanup crew to eat. So I'm just going to give it a helping hand, and I'm just going to scrape off with these clippers the bulk of this algae. And as you can see, I just work my way around. You want to be careful not to cut the zoas. Just tear away the algae. And just take your time. You want to be very careful not to get too close to the zoas, and just pull off the bulk. And the more you get off, the easier it'll be to see where the remainder actually is. Yeah, it's looking better already. So we've done one side. I'm gonna just get a little bit of that longer hair algae out from in between the polyps. Just pulling it out with my fingers. And that'll do us. Alright, we're on the home stretch from my list. We've done all the coral trimming, and we've now cleaned up that frag plug of zoas, which I wanted to get the algae off. The last thing on my list that I really want to do today is I want to install these bacteria house ceramic biomedia that I covered in a previous video. I want to put them in my sump. To make them fit in the sump, I have to remove a whole bunch of that crumbling marine pure blocks that I've got. So I'm going to get a bucket, get down into the sump, and start taking out some of that marine pure, clear out some space to put some of these in. Alright, we're down in the sump. Before I can add these into the sump, I have to clear out some space. I also need to take these out of these plastic protective wrappers. They say you can keep them on, but I prefer not to. So you just peel them off like this. And I'm going to be rinsing these in a little bit of RO water before I put them in the sump, just in case there's any dust on them that I don't really want clouding my water. I'll do that off camera, but before I bother with that, let's take the Marine Pure blocks out, because I want to show you what they look like after 2 years in a tank. I'm going to be wearing this whole arm glove, so I don't need to get my arm wet to do this. Alright. Now I have the Marine Pure blocks in this chamber and in this chamber. For now, I'm just going to take the ones out of here because they're easier to get to and easier to see on camera. Alright, so this is a 2-year-old Marine Pure block. And as you can see, the edges of it have eroded heavily. It's no longer, and it's also yellowed quite a bit. It's still probably effective as media. I'm sure there's heaps and heaps of bacteria in it, but what I don't like about it is sort of how porous it's becoming. You can see the residue on my gloves just from handling it. It's starting to crumble. It makes a mess in the sump, so it's time to go. Now, I wouldn't, if you're doing a changeover like this, do it in small batches. So I have this type of media in this chamber and in this chamber. I'm only taking out the media from this chamber, but that's not even all the ceramic media I have, because in my center chamber here, I have 4 plates of the Mantis Bio ceramic media as well, and that stuff's great, doesn't crumble, and I'll be keeping that in the tank throughout this whole process as well, so there shouldn't be any major swing to my, my nutrient control as a result of this. Yeah, look at this block. That was square at one point. One side of it is completely eroded away. Another concern with this older Marine Pure media is that it seems anecdotally like it does leach aluminium into the tank. Certainly my ICP tests show elevated aluminium. I haven't found any other potential source, and it has been rising over the last few ICP tests, whilst the majority of my other trace elements have been lowering. So all signs from my anecdotal evidence point to the Marine Pure being the culprit of leaching that aluminium, and I know I'm not the only one. It certainly seems to be a trend across the reefing scene that people put the blame for high levels of aluminium on this particular media. So another reason for the long-term health of the tank to be removing it. Alright, that's all the media out of this chamber, and that's a total of 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 blocks. I'd say I probably have about that much again in this chamber, but I won't be removing that, I'd say at least for a month, to make sure that it gives this new media fully time to seed and take up the slack in terms of the diminished nutrient control that I'm now going to have in my tank as a result of removing this media. Although, as I said before, I do still have the Mantis blocks in this center chamber as well to take up some of the slack. So I'm going to go throw these away. I'm going to finish unpacking these and give them a rinse under RO, and then I'll add them to the sump. Alright, so the Marine Pure blocks are gone. I'm now unpacking these, and we're going to soak them in this bucket of RO water just to wash the dust off them, really. Although, not that it matters, the tank's gotten really cloudy as a result of removing that Marine Pure and disturbing a lot of the silt that was in the bottom of my sump. That's another maintenance activity that is on the to-do list, but not for today, and that's to vacuum out the bottom of the sump. It's getting a bit dirty. There we go. I'll just give these a bit of a slosh. Just trying to get the dust off them. That'll do. Now, going to stack them in this chamber of the sump. And I'm going to initially try them upright. We'll see how that goes. Although it won't really matter if they fall over, because as I showed in the video where I featured these, the options for water flow through these blocks, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, because of the unique structure of them. I don't think it really matters what shape, what direction the water flow is coming from in relation to the orientation of the block. You're going to get good flow through these. As we can see, the tank is quite cloudy, but yeah, nothing to worry about. It's just because we disturbed a bit of that silt in the sump. Alright, we're on the home stretch, so thanks for coming along on today's... Alright, we're on the home stretch. Almost everything's done. All I need to do now is replace my filter sock, clean the skimmer cup, and we're done. I don't think you really want to see that on camera, so I'm going to finish up the video here. Thanks for coming along on this journey of trying to efficiently work through a list of maintenance activities that have been a little bit overdue on my tank, but getting them all done as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible without having my hands in and out of the tank on multiple occasions over multiple days, doing it all in one go. If you've got any questions about any of the things I've done today, comment down below. Don't forget to go and check out some of my past videos where I've covered in more detail a lot of the things that we've talked about today. And if you like the video and you want to support the channel, please don't forget to subscribe. My name is Marcus, and you've been watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. Bye for now.